Good morning, Albert. Welcome to the show.
Morning.
All right. So this has been a subject of conversation for over 2 weeks. Everybody's been talking about it. Some will say that it's even lasted longer because the third term debate and discussion has been going on for a while. And now we're hearing that from Bujumbura there's been a coup. Now, can we say it's definitively a coup? And if yes, did this happen unbeknownst of the heads of states that are meeting in Dar es Salaam?
I would say traditionally it's the best time to do the coup when the guy is not around, you know. So that was the window that some people. But you know, it's really important the fact that you just mentioned that it started. In fact, the protest 2 weeks ago, and it was getting intenser every day. Showing also, because in the beginning some people were like, okay, you know, we know this kind of population, after 2 or 3 days they'll be starving and they won't come back. But now what we saw was in fact a momentum that was gaining momentum and more intense every day. Having the women now that really were determined to play even a major role. Yesterday, during that day, they opened up the whole thing. Now, when we could see also that civil population are ready to really to be face to face with people with guns, ready to shoot, to have this kind of even attitude, behavior of wait until they run out of bullets, capture them, beat them, but hand them over to the police. Showing that something was getting to another level, you know, and we have this situation in Burundi that every election has been
violent.
Well, at least ever since the independence, their history, their tradition, Nkurunziza is the very first one that reaches that far without being overthrown by a coup. But now he has pushed justice like a bit too far, because nobody wanted that third term, and everybody said Arusha, Arusha, Arusha. Now the army came out very, very interestingly in the beginning of the crisis by announcing that, you know what, at the end of the day we should all respect Arusha, and the Burundian army is like any other institution. We're born after Arusha and we should protect Arusha. So they had said they won't tolerate the coup. So people were wondering. Now, let's come back to the main guy, Niyombare. But Niyombare is with the committee. He is a former, also with a former Minister of Defense during the Buyoya era. And they have also the strong, let's say the frontliners of the army. They have the commando unit.
So, you're talking about the army. How much control does the army have of the country as of this moment?
I would say, because I saw also your tweet in there that you were questioning. You know, it would be something that is interesting. But the most important question is, how much control do they have of the army? Because that is the real point. Because once you have the army, you don't have rebel groups. Once you have the army, you have the country. You can control but the real question would have been, I think, is how much control do they have of the army? Because in fact, they had this window, and I knew from my contacts there and from different networks that they didn't have everybody on board. But they just say, let's jump now. Let's go for it, because we have a very short time to make a decision, and they took that decision, and they didn't have 100% of the army.
That's what I wanted to talk about. When you remember the Bagaza regime and the Buyoya regime, and then what ensued with the democratic elections with Melchior Ndadaye and what followed, there was always that regulator. Back in the days, it was Bikomagu, who was chief of army. Can we say that now we have someone who will speak for the entire army at some point, since there's some divisions here and there?
No, we are definitely in what we had before, where the FAB, the Force Armée Burundaise. Now we have the Burundian Defense Forces that came out of Arusha. That means that in there you do have the regular, I mean the traditional army that we've known in those years. But then you have the rebel groups, you know, and Niyombare is a general that from the CNDD-FDD. This is the guy that was one of the very popular chief of staff, by the way. Then he has been put on the side by that regime, brought back maybe in an idea, a concept, and he replaced Adolphe Nshimirimana at the head of the intelligence. But he's the one that dared to go to the president and say, you know what, boss, here as a party, this is our assessment of if you want to submit a third term, you know. He was the guy that told him, don't do it.
And he's part of CNDD-FDD.
Yes,
What a lot of people don't know.
He's a big gun inside the CNDD-FDD.
Right.
Actually, he came and went in front of the president and told him, CNDD-FDD has all chances to win the next elections without you. If you just go step on the side, we have all the chances to keep on the reign of the rule of CNDD-FDD. That's why he was kicked out by Nkurunziza, you know. And from then, they made this petition. 22 personalities of inside the CNDD. In there, you had so many, more than 10 generals. Now, most of those generals have been bought back by the regime. They've been bought back, and they've put Niyombare on the side. But what I can tell you is that Nkurunziza, 24 hours prior to the convention, where he got nominated. No, or a month, well, he had put a bounty on Niyombare's head. He sat in a meeting with a couple of guys, and that is where things started to go.
So that brings me to this question: was this premeditated?
This coup?
Yeah.
This was the only way out. So it wasn't like you could, you know, ever since he's been put aside, and the regime, the president's man, I would say, the king's man around Nkurunziza, they started to see now how they could put those big guys, like they call them les frondeurs, inside, who are contesting the position of Nkurunziza, to put them on the side. But it has been violent. Actually, these guys were on the run.
Now,
they were underground. They were organizing these things by connecting underground,
So this might have been premeditated.
It was premeditated, but only the whole challenge was to understand who can you count on when you do this thing. Now, even inside that you would think that the ex-Force Armée Burundaise were eventually pro, you never know 100%.
Right.
Then inside there you also have FNL. You don't have, and then in CNDD-FDD, then you had the majority, I would say, of the people, the troop, the privates and all that, they were pro-Niyombare.
Right.
But then you get officers
right.
and all that, like the chief general of staff was pro the third term.
The official government spokesperson of Kenya came out with a statement yesterday saying that they are going to reconvene in 2 weeks as the heads of states.
And the president of Tanzania, who's the chairman of the East African community, Jakaya Kikwete, also said that the heads of states condemned. That was a statement released by his office that they condemned.
Very normal. There's something very interesting that by discussing that. First of all, nobody knew. And I'm sure President Kagame could not. He's not in Magayane or any, you know. But what we've seen the situation growing. I was, again, these people with stones, defying people in uniform. You know, that gives some power to guys like Niyombare to tell people, this is the time.
And Nkurunziza's absence, do you think it was the right move for him to attend the East African Community Heads of Summit meeting?
Well, did he have a choice? Yes, of course, you always have a choice, but it's a risky moment. It's a risky moment. But I heard yesterday, no, the day before, that in fact he wanted to send his VP. He didn't want to go.
And didn't want to go.
So that means he had maybe, you know, something in his, you know,
telling him, something like that.
Here, you know, what we cannot underestimate that really is another actor that we haven't seen, and that is why I'm against most of the people who are trying to compare Burundi is what happened in Burkina Faso. Completely different situation. Now, the civil society here, the population there, the kind of risk that they've been taking ever since the beginning, that gave ground to
The church came out
and the church.
All right, guys, we can keep chatting about this. We have to wrap up. The voice in my ear is about to kill me.
One thing that is really, really, really important, you know, what is going to be next. And the good thing was at least that the international community has been sending messages, in fact, to all the Burundian, you know, like if somebody's going to take care of this mess,
Right.
we're fine with that.
Absolutely.
And that is why I think the army also
has
there.
taken care.
Well, after this situation has been even more clear, hopefully we can have you back to discuss this. Thank you
Sure,
so much,
anytime.
ALBERT RUDATSIMBURWA.
But earlier.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show.